One of the setbacks when breaking free of a narcissistic relationship is that the narcissist takes a lot of our time. When the narcissist is gone, we have all this free time and don't know where to go with it. When I left DB the first time, I had no idea what to do with myself. I was pretty set in the routine of taking care of the house and going to work. The rest of my world had centered around DB, and when he was out of the picture, I was kind of at a loss. There was no YouTube, no Facebook, no personal web pages. It never occurred to me to go to my happy place, the library. I literally had nothing to do. I didn't miss DB, but I wasn't happy either. The house I was staying in was chaotic. I lived with a friend's daughter who had a roommate who had a lot of friends always hanging around, and they weren't good people. You can imagine what kind of environment that was. I worked at night, and when I wasn't at work, during the day I was trying to sleep with a house full of people. The effort was doomed to failure. As much as I wanted to succeed, the house I was in sucked, my car was a lemon, and DB started hanging around, pressuring me to get back together. He talked me into marriage counseling, and knowing he was abusive, the counselor pressured me into dating him, which resulted in twins. It didn't take much to get me back into the dysfunction. After being back with DB for a while, I became kind of a workaholic. I worked 12-hour shifts, and at the end of every shift, I dreaded going home. When I would get home, I would sit in my car appreciating the silence while I summoned up the will to go into the house. It was particularly bad at the end of a work week where I would be at home with DB for 3 and 4 days at a time. He was so disagreeable to be around that when I wasn't taking care of the kids or working, I was dusting. There was no cleaner house than ours. But in spite of keeping busy every waking moment, DB made me miserable enough to move out again. Only this time I was better prepared because I was not going back. This time when I moved out, I had a plan. First, I had my own place, and I made it a priority to get all my boxes unpacked and put away. With the help of my friend from work and my parents, I got some pretty decent secondhand furniture, and in very little time I had a decent home. I hung a bird feeder out on my patio and got into bird watching. I expected to be depressed when I left DB, but instead I found peace and the time to do anything I wanted to. On my days off, I took the kids to the zoo, the park, or the mall, or went hiking. And I was happy. I had friendships that took time, and I found that I didn't have enough time to do all the things I wanted to do. Over time, in addition to working 12-hour shifts and keeping a home, I went to college part-time and maintained a 4.0 GPA. I learned how to tie-dye, learned how to paint, learned how to crochet, learned photography. Not bad for a miserable idiot, huh? I took my daughter to skating lessons, took trips to the beach, took short road trips, exercised, rollerbladed, all things that DB would never allow me to do. I was actually starting to grow as a person, and all these accomplishments helped to build my self-esteem. To this day, I fill every waking moment with some activity or another. I get up early so I can make the most of my morning time, and I hate spending my free time sleeping. I get really annoyed with myself when I sleep until 7 or 8. I'm actually jealous when someone says they're bored. When someone says, I'm bored, I want to say, what's it like? I don't try to be like this, but there's so much life to live that if I have a spare moment, I fill it. Every once in a while I get frustrated because I have too much going on, and I have to take a personal inventory and ask myself, what needs to go? And the most recent thing was housekeeping. Until I reach my goals, I do the minimum amount of housekeeping that I can get away with, and I can tell you that I don't like it. I wish when I had left the first time, I had the motivation and creativity I did when I left the second time. I might have been successful. My whole life would have turned out different. At the very least, going to the library may have saved me years of narcissistic anguish. Books have always been my friends when in a bad place. I've become so busy that I haven't read a book in years, and I miss it. Do you think that all this activity is a trauma response and a coping mechanism? Or is it a habit that I have just failed to identify and deal with? Or am I trying to make up for years of wasted time? Whatever it is, getting the narcissist out of my life made everything better. I hope this video gave you validation and inspiration. I would not be offended by a like. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.